Okay, good morning, everyone. The time is 9 a.m. I call to order the March 25th, 2021 meeting of the Contractors State Licensing Board. My name is David Torre, CSLB's board chair. Board members, we will be using cameras during the meeting. To mitigate any potential bandwidth issues, we ask that you turn off your video camera when you are not speaking. When you would like to comment during the meeting, please turn on your camera and select the raise your hand icon in the WebEx application. I will call on board members to speak. When called upon, please unmute yourself, and when finished, return to mute and turn off your camera. Shelley Jones is our host and moderator today. This is the third time Shelley has moderated the CSLB's board meeting. Shelley, welcome back. Also joining us today, you're welcome. Also joining us today is Registrar David Fote, Chief Deputy Registrar Tanya Corcoran, CSLB staff, and our board legal counsel, Jason Hurtado. With that said, we can begin. Feliz, roll call, please.
David Delatorre.
Here.
Kevin Albanese.
Here.
Frank Altamira.
Here.
Buggy Beltran.
Here.
Ronnie Cobos.
Here.
Miguel Galarza.
Here.
Don Giortano.
Here.
Susan Granzella.
Here.
Diana Love.
Here.
Michael Mark.
Here.
Jimmy Wayne.
Here.
Johnny Simpson.
Here.
Nancy Springer. I believe is running late. Mary Tyker.
Here.
We have a quorum.
Outstanding. Okay, at this time, I ask that you please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Next is an update on the establishment of a board officer nomination committee. July 1st, 2021 will mark the beginning of a new fiscal year, as well as terms for our board secretary, vice chair, and chair. Under board rules, I have appointed Kevin Albanese and Johnny Simpson to the nomination committee. Kevin and Johnny will recommend a slate of officers for board member consideration. The board will elect new officers at the June board meeting. Board members will be surveyed for interest in serving as board officer, committee chair, and committee assignment for next fiscal year, July 2021 through June 2022. The board chair elected at the June quarterly board meeting will make the committee appointments. Staff will survey board members in April. Are there any board member questions? Shelley, please check to see if there are any members of the public who wish to comment.
This is the moderator. If you'd like to make a public comment, you can click on the Q&A icon on your screen and type "I would like to make a comment" into the ask field. Or you may also use your raised hand feature. And I am not seeing anything at this time.
Okay. Moving on to agenda item B, which is for public comment and to request agenda items for future meetings. The board values public input as part of our consumer protection mission. To allow us enough time to conduct our full schedule of business today, I'm limiting public comments to 3 minutes apiece. If your comments don't involve an item on today's agenda, this would be the time where you can make them. If you have comments on one of our agenda items, we encourage you to wait until we get to that item. We will give you an opportunity to make your comments at that time. We also ask that your public comment relate to the agenda item currently before the board. There are a few other rules that apply. First, California law prohibits board members from discussing any matter brought up during public comment. And board members are not allowed to act on any item not on today's agenda. Second, if you want the board to discuss a topic not on the agenda, you can ask us to consider placing that issue on the agenda of a future meeting. And finally, if you have an application, complaint, or disciplinary charges pending before the board, we ask that you not discuss the details of your case or pending complaint. That's because board members may be the judges, and by law are not permitted to receive evidence or information that is not part of the administrative record in the case. Members of the public, if you are with us on WebEx and would like to make a comment, use the chat feature to send the host a note that you would like to offer public comment. If you are joining us on the phone and would like to make a public comment, press *9. We will take the WebEx comments first, followed by telephone comments. We will use the same system throughout the meeting for public comment during each agenda item. You will find instructions on how you can make public comments on the agenda for this meeting posted on our CSLB website. Board members, are there any comments? Shelley, any public comments?
I'm seeing nothing in the chat, nothing in the Q&A, and no hand raises.
Okay. Next is agenda item C, presentation of certificates of recognition. Today we are recognizing former board member Marlo Richardson. During her tenure, Marlo has chaired the Public Affairs, Enforcement, and Licensing Committees. She also served as Secretary, Vice Chair, and Chair during our last sunset hearing. I will now read the plaque. Presented to Marlo Richardson, Contractors State Licensing Board Member from 2015 to 2020 and Board Chair 2018 to 2019. In recognition of your outstanding contributions to the Contractor State Licensing Board, the people of California, and to the construction industry, thank you for a job well done. Would any board member like to make a comment? Seeing none.
I would, Dave, I thank you, Marlo. I don't know if she's on the panel or can talk, but I really enjoyed serving with you, Marlo. You did a hell of a job. Great mom. I want to learn from you. So thank you very much, and good luck to you.
Any other comments from the board?
This is Johnny. I would also like to thank you, Marlo, for everything you've done. It's been a pleasure to serve with you, and I respect you and hope everything goes well for you.
Okay, I don't see any raised hands. Anybody else? So I understand that Registrar Foat would like to make some comments. The floor is yours, Dave.
Well, thank you, Mr. Delatorre. I want to thank Marlo for going above and beyond to support staff. Marlo attended many staff trainings. She participated in training, and she also provided training recommendations. And one thing I learned from Marlo is she really perfected the art of catching an early morning flight from LAX. She'd come up to Sacramento, participate in the training, and go back later that afternoon. So Marlo, on behalf of CSLB staff, thank you for all that you did during your tenure as a board member.
Okay. Thank you, David. And just a quick comment also, Marlo, I know we got on the board roughly around the same time, and just want to thank you for your service and your time to this board. Shelley, are there any public comments?
I am not seeing any at this time.
Okay. We'll move on to agenda item D. The review and possible approval of board meeting minutes and committee meeting summary reports. We will begin with the December 10th, 2020 board meeting minutes, which begin on page 11.
Motion to approve the minutes.
Is there a second?
Second.
Any board members have any comments? Seeing none. Shelley, any public comment?
Again, this is a reminder, if you'd like to make a public comment, you may utilize the chat. You may also access the Q&A by clicking on the Q&A icon on your screen, or the hand raise feature is also activated, and I'm not seeing any at this time.
Okay, Felice, roll call.
David Delatorre,
Aye.
Kevin Albanese,
Aye.
Frank Altamira,
Yes.
Lucky Beltran,
Aye.
Ronnie Cobos,
Aye.
Miguel Galarza,
Aye.
Don Giordano,
Aye.
Susan Granzella,
Aye.
Diana Love,
Aye.
Michael Mark,
Aye.
Jimmy Wayne,
Aye.
Johnny Simpson,
Aye.
Nancy Springer,
Yes.
Mary Taggart.
Yes.
Motion passes.
Next is the review and approval of the February 4th, 2021 board meeting minutes, which begin on page 27. I'll entertain a motion.
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Are there any board comments? Seeing none. Shelley, any public comments?
Seeing none at this time.
Felice, roll call, please.
David Delatorre,
Aye.
Kevin Albanese,
Aye.
Frank Altamira,
Aye.
Lucky Beltran,
Aye.
Ronnie Cobos,
Aye.
Miguel Galarza,
Aye.
Don Giordano,
Aye.
Susan Granzella,
Aye.
Diana Love,
Aye.
Michael Mark,
Yes.
Jimmy Wayne,
Aye.
Johnny Simpson,
Aye.
Nancy Springer,
Yes.
Mary Taggart.
Aye.
Motion passes.
Excellent. Okay, next is a review and approval of the Enforcement Committee Summary Report, which begin on page 33. Do I have a motion to approve?
Make a motion to approve?
Is there- Are there any board comments? Seeing none. Shelley, any public comment?
No chats, no Q&As, and no hand raises. None at this time.
Roll call for Felice.
David Delatorre,
Aye.
Kevin Albanese,
Aye.
Frank Altamira,
Aye.
Lucky Beltran,
Aye.
Ronnie Cobos,
Aye.
Miguel Galarza,
Aye.
Don Giordano,
Aye.
Susan Granzella,
Aye.
Diana Love,
Aye.
Michael Mark,
Aye.
Jimmy Wayne,
Aye.
Johnny Simpson,
Aye.
Nancy Springer,
Yes.
Mary Taggart.
Aye.
Motion passes.
Finally is the review and approval of the Legislative Committee Summary Report, which begins on page 39. Do I have a motion to approve?
So moved.
Second.
Is there a second? Okay, great. Is there any board comments? Seeing none. Any public comment?
I am seeing none at this time.
Felice, roll call, please.
David Delatorre,
Aye.
Kevin Albanese,
Aye.
Frank Altamira,
Aye.
Augie Beltran,
Aye.
Ronnie Cobos,
Aye.
Miguel Galarza,
Aye.
Don Giordano,
Aye.
Susan Granzella,
Aye.
Diana Love,
Aye.
Michael Mark,
Aye.
Jimmy Wayne,
Aye.
Johnny Simpson,
Aye.
Nancy Springer,
Yes.
Mary Tykert.
Aye.
Motion passes.
Excellent. Thank you, Felice. Okay, next is the registrar's report. Before I turn it over to Registrar David Foat, I'd like to comment on the 2020 accomplishments and activities report. 2020 had many challenges for the California construction industry and CSLB. In spite of the challenges, CSLB had many noteworthy accomplishments throughout all divisions. The board has faced staff shortages, and many staff have willingly taken on additional duties to continue serving consumers, applicants, and licensees. I want to thank our staff for their continued service. Registrar Foat, I turn the floor over to you.
Thank you, Chair Delatorre. I'd like to begin regarding the board meeting schedule. As many of you know, for the last 11 years, we've had a joint meeting in June with the Nevada Contractors Board. Last June, we met by teleconference. This year, the Nevada Board has asked that we meet in person. However, recognizing that we're still in a state of emergency due to the health pandemic, it doesn't lend itself to having an in-person meeting in June. But we're optimistic that we will be able to meet in person in September. And so all board members were provided a survey by Tanya Corcoran earlier this week. And I understand we've received 8 responses. She'll be following up to confirm your availability for a June meeting and also for a September meeting. And then hopefully everything will go well and we can meet in December somewhere in the Bay Area, so that can be coordinated with, with other functions. So we are hopeful that we'll be able to share the results with all of you on or before April the 12th. I did want to provide an update regarding the battery energy storage system consultant that we've hired. As you know, we contracted in December with UC Berkeley, and the contract requires that UC Berkeley consider the battery energy storage system, or BESS, risk, hazard, size, and complexity, and potential harm to the public. And is that harm something that is of consideration for occurring in the future, and is regulation necessary to amend the existing classifications that could do it, or should it be restricted in some way? Also, they're going to be looking at the applicability of state and national standards and to the codes that would apply to the installation of the batteries. And what economic impact would a restriction on the solar class's ability, or any classification for that matter, to be able to install the battery? So we're looking at the economic impact. And then finally, looking at the knowledge, skills, and training as it relates to safely installing the battery systems. March 12th, Mike Jemnensky and I met with UC Berkeley to check in with them and see what the status, how their study was coming along. And we were very pleased that the study is underway, and they will be reaching out to stakeholders, and we anticipate that occurring in April, the stakeholders being the electrical industry, the solar industry. We've encouraged them to speak with the California building officials, and also the Division of Apprenticeship Standards, or now I guess they're called Division of Labor Standards Enforcement, as it relates to any applicable training requirements. So that would be my update on where we're at with the consultant that was hired to review the battery energy storage systems. I did want to add a little bit to what David said regarding the activity and accomplishment report. So just real briefly, I just want to thank the board for playing an active role in developing objectives that really helped us achieve quite a few consumer protection measures in the last year. And that was somewhat challenging because of the health pandemic, but still much was accomplished. And if you have a chance to read the report, what you'll find is that there was a very successful transition to a telework environment. We were able to move very quickly to provide the equipment the staff needed to work from home and continue to provide a high level of service to consumers and to industry. We were able to implement new licensing process changes by automating the sole owner renewals. We're real excited about that, hoping to expand that soon into other types of licenses, but it makes for the renewal process much simpler and quicker for our licensees. And the applicant workshop's been very helpful in explaining the license requirements to help those that would benefit the industry by obtaining a license, obtain that license. The enforcement program has done well with issuing the letters of admonishment. Kevin Albanese, the enforcement committee chair, is going to provide statistics to show how successful they were in 2020, even though, for the most part, many of the field work was curtailed for a considerable length of time. And I want to touch, just to close out, I want to touch on the legislation. The board sponsored 4 bills, and they all significantly benefit the public. And all 4 of those bills were chaptered, approved by the legislature. They went to the governor signed the bill. So real excited about that. The first one is for enhanced enforcement. Safety in the tree industry provides us clear authority now to take action when a tree contractor is not providing the training and the safety equipment that their workers need and really required to do that work safely. So we'll be able to take disciplinary action when appropriate. We're going to be able to outsource our test administration. So that's going to be beneficial. We can join up with the Department of Consumer Affairs to have an outside vendor administer our examinations. We were able to create a residential remodeling classification, and we all know that's going to be extremely beneficial in helping to meet the needs of consumers that are looking for the more smaller residential remodeling projects that don't require rough framing or rough carpentry. And finally, the renewal process, something that is of great concern, is that sometimes many contractors don't renew timely, might be a week late. Now we have the clear authority to retroactively renew that license. So I hope you'll take a look at the activity and accomplishment report. We prominently displayed it on the first page of the website. It's under the tab titled What's New. So that would be my update. That's the registrar update. Thank you.
Okay, David, thank you for your report. Now we'll move on to the budget update. Stacy Paul, kindly provide your update.
Thank you, Board Chair, and good morning, everyone. On page 49 begins your budget update. The first chart shows our fiscal year 2021 budget and expenditures through January. No big surprises. In fact, we're continuing to meet our goal of reducing expenses to ensure that the board has enough cash flow to continue operations until a fee increase can be secured. As you can see, to date, we've expended 53% of our budget, keeping us on track to spend about the same as last year at $66 million on total board expenditures. The chart directly below shows our revenue through January. As you can see, we're up over the prior year by 14.5%. This is mostly due to the emergency fee increase of $50 last year in February. However, as you can see, we are seeing a steady increase in licensees paying delinquent fees. If you flip the page, the chart highlights our final budget with adjustments for this fiscal year, which was decreased by $3.3 million, mainly due to the employee pay cut of roughly 9%. Moving on to the next item, talks about our budget drill we recently did to achieve 5% cut to our budget for next year. At the top of the page, or top of page 51, you can see our target was $550,000. Thankfully, with the passage of AB 3087, which Dave previously just mentioned, is the outsourcing of exam administration. Those savings were easily identified due to the closing of 2 testing facilities along with their vacant positions over the next 18 months. The chart below is the board approved $7.1 million in expense reductions. The column on the right is the blue that reflects the savings that we've realized through January. As you can see, overall, $6 million in savings, and we're definitely on target to meet the goal of $7.1 million and possibly exceed it. If you flip the page, this is our fund condition, which projects out to budget year 21-22. If you look at the current year, which is 2021, in the middle column, our projected revenue for this year is $72 million. And directly below that is our projected expenses at $71 million. Keep in mind that also includes the $7.1 million in reductions in board expenses that we already talked about. If you look at the last column, this reflects our projected for budget year without any major cost savings, which we know that we did this year. As you can see, the expenditures will outpace revenue, still leaving us structurally imbalanced and in desperate need of a fee increase by next year end. On the next page, I'm happy to report that the Department of Finance has approved our budget change proposal for the construction management account. And it's currently going through the legislative budget hearing for consideration in next year's budget. If approved, it would give CSLB the flexibility to increase or decrease our grant awards to educational institutions based on the contributions received annually. The chart directly below is that CMEA fund condition account. And you can see we're bringing in more revenue than we're allowed to disperse. So that is why the BCP was necessary to address this issue. Lastly, let me quickly touch on the statistical summary details on the next 3 pages. No big surprises from last time. We're still seeing a decline in new apps and the issuance of new licenses, but that's mainly due to the pandemic and the shutdown of exam administration over the last few months. During this time, though, thankfully, renewals have stayed steady as we're still seeing an 8% increase over 2 years and 16% increase over last year. That concludes the budget update. Are there any questions?
Thank you, Stacy, for that report. Are there any board comments? Shelley, any public comment?
I am not seeing any at this time.
Okay, no board action is required, so we'll move on to the next agenda item. Item D4, the Administrative and Information Technology Overview, and review and discussion of the Administration and Information Technology 2019-2021 Strategic Plan. Tanya, please update the board.
Thank you, Chair, and good morning, everyone. On page 59 is the Administrative and Information Technology Overview. So this overview is a new document. It was created just to provide the board a detailed summary of roles, responsibilities, and activities by division. So you'll see this document, type of document at the beginning of each division's program update. And as you can see, the administrative division encompasses a range of duties that support board operations. It includes budgets, personnel, business services, mailroom, warehouse, cashiering, imaging services, and risk management. And our information technology division includes network and infrastructure services, IT-related purchases, IT security, network support, IT programs and systems, and processing documents for Public Records Act requests and public data requests. So moving to the strategic plan update, just wanted to advise the board that the IT strategic plan objectives are not in your board packet today. They will be reviewed with the IT advisory committee, which is Frank Altamura and Susan Granzella, and a report provided to the full board at the June board meeting. With that, I'll now turn it over to our CSLB's Administrative Chief, Mike Maliza, to cover the administration objectives.
Thank you, Chief Deputy Registrar Corcoran. Good morning, Chair Dilatory, and good morning, members of the board. The administration objectives start on page 65 of your board packet. All the items, and it continues on to page 67. All the items have been completed except there's two items, item 5.7 and item 5.8, that are still in progress. I'll go over those real quick. Item 5.7, the description there is to standardize human resource processes to increase efficiency in regard to personnel matters. The target date on that item is July of 2021. The current status, we are on schedule with that. Staff is in the process of creating a supervisory section for CSLB's intranet. Tools such as frequently answered questions, checklists, etc., will be uploaded to this section for supervisors to reference. But yes, we are ongoing. I don't see any problem hitting that target date of July 2021. Next is item 5.8. The description there is enhancing the onboarding and orientation program for new staff members, managers, and board members. So that also entails producing an onboarding video and adding tools and resources on the intranet. The target date on that one was February 2021. Because of social distancing and some staff resourcing, we were unable to hit that target date, but we are on course again. That should be completed by next month, and I am confident that at our June board meeting, I will report that that has been completed. So, and the rest of the items again are on the following pages. So that concludes my update on the strategic plans. I can answer any questions that you might have right now.
Thank you, Tanya and Mike. Are there any board comments, questions? Okay, seeing none. Shelley, any public member like to make a comment?
Again, this is a reminder, if you'd like to make a comment, you may utilize the chat feature. You may click on the Q&A icon on your screen and text into the ask field, or the hand raise feature is also activated, and I'm not seeing anything at this time.
Okay, as this is informational, no board action is required. We'll move on to our next agenda item. D5, administrative update. Administration Chief Mike Meliza, please update the board.
Again, thank you, Chair. The Administration Division update begins on page 71 of your board packet, and I'll begin with the personnel unit. So during the second quarter of fiscal year 2021, CSLB personnel staff completed 37 personnel transactions. This includes the addition of 5 new employees from other state agencies, 2 employees new to state service. Within CSLB, 21 employees were promoted and 8 transferred to different units or designations. And 1 student assistant also joined CSLB, so that's great news. You can look at the total number of personnel transactions per quarter compared with the previous fiscal year, 2019-20, on that page as well. Moving on to page 72, I will go over the vacancies. So during the second quarter of fiscal year 2021, CSLB averaged 49 vacancies. Moving down under career development, that's also on page 72. Personnel staff participated in CSLB's Career Development Live event held in February 2021. The event was the first in a series of online events launched by the CSLB Career Development and Mentoring Program Steering Committee. The events are an opportunity for staff to learn about each of CSLB's divisions, such as the role and function of the division, the types of classifications utilized in the division, potential career paths, and training opportunities. During this event, CSLB personnel staff spoke about the types of duties it performs on a regular, just a day-to-day basis, such as working on recruitments, employee benefits, onboarding of new hires, and health and safety issues. The business services units of the administration division also spoke of their roles and day-to-day duties and career opportunities. These events will be continue, and we'll highlight other divisions in the near future. So moving on to the business services activities, that starts on page 74. There's a list of activities that includes facilities, contracts, and procurements, both on page 74 and 75. However, I will highlight the first bullet on page 74 under facilities regarding our Valencia office. So CSLB, DCA, and the Department of General Services identified a new location for our Valencia office. The lease was not renewed because the property owners had other plans. So we had to work with DCA and DGS on finding a new site. We did find a new site. The construction began in June 2020. Movers arrived on December 17th to relocate all office items, furniture, equipment, etc., to the new location in Santa Clarita. The Valencia office staff moved into the new suite at 25360 Magic Mountain Parkway, Suite 250 in Santa Clara on December 18th. So that project is now completed, and that concludes my report for the activities for the Administration Division. So I'd be happy to answer any questions you may have for me at this time.
Excellent. Thank you. Thanks again, Mike. Are there any comments from the board? Okay, seeing none. Shelley, any public comment?
I am not seeing anything at this time.
Again, this is informational, so no action is required from the board. And we'll move on to the next agenda item. D6. Next is our information technology update. Before we hear the staff update, I understand that the IT Advisory Committee met last week. Susan or Frank, would you like to provide some brief comments?
I'll go ahead. Frank, is that all right?
Yep, go ahead.
Okay. So good morning, everyone. Frank and I, board member Frank Altamura and I resumed our IT technology meeting to get a current update on what was going to be presented to the board, as well as some underlying issues that we needed to discuss. I'm happy to report that Deputy Registrar Corcoran and Chief of Information Technology, Jason Paris, have done a great job this past year. And so what we did is we reviewed the current technology. We also made comments about in the future, including other board relevant points so that we could get that information through. And then something we did last year was still very important, and things have changed since our last report on the architecture. So we had alluded to and completed a lot of connections, new organizational servers and support that was offered by IT at DCA. And they have indeed done that. We've still maintained our independence as far as our systems here. But what needs to be updated to the board was where we are today. What is our risk? Where are the systems kept? How are we protecting those systems? And also, how are we connecting with DCA and the state of California under the rules and regulations? Well, it'll be a brief report, but I think it's important that we as board members know where our data is stored and how it's protected. So we will include that in our next board meeting, which will also have other fun facts, of course. And but in the report that Jason and Jason Perez is going to be presenting, it begins on page 79. And it's a great reminder of the progress CSLB can make. We have talked about online, being able to do online registration and payments. And so I think it's a great report. So I'll turn this over to both Tanya, Deputy Registrar, and Jason Perez. Thank you.
Thank you, Susan. Jason, I'm going to go ahead. The floor is yours.
Thank you, Tanya. Thank you, Board Member Susan Granzella. Thank you for that. So today, I would like to say good morning, and first to let you know that our information technology update begins on page 79. However, first I would like to highlight a few of the changes that the CSLB team has done, and that is on the website. Kevin, could you please show our first screenshot? So first here, to better assist our constituents of California, CSLB has moved the Google Translate feature from the bottom of the website to the top to increase the visibility of this feature and to demonstrate this website's accessibility to a broader audience. The second change, which is the next web slide, is the new alerts section. We added this section to provide a place for posting important information from the department and the administration. Currently, the messaging is centered around increasing awareness for COVID-19 testing and vaccination information. And third, and lastly, at the bottom of the website is a new link to the California Grants portal. This website is available to contractors to review the available California business grants to support their businesses. We'll now return back to the board packet and start at page 79. The online renewal statistics chart provides a breakdown of the sole owner renewals in the first column, the e-kiosk application, which it currently accepts payments for all non-sole owner renewal applications. And then the last column is our HIAS, Home Improvement Salesperson's online renewals. As a whole, online renewals continue to be a successful, where approximately 40% of all renewals are processed through our website. And to increase the functionality of our online services, as of January, we are now able to process citation payments online. This was a successful collaboration between the Enforcement Division and IT, and to date, the website has processed over $80,000 in citation payments. January continued to be a very busy month for us, as we also implemented retroactive renewals into our licensing system. We are now able to automatically update the record of an expired license up to 90 days after expiration, if renewal fees are paid and the renewal is completed. The license history will not reflect a break in licensure. Continuing to page 80, I would like to highlight that CSLB IT completed its biannual IT military assessment this month. While we had a technical closeout summary meeting with the assessment team at the completion of it, the final debrief will be available May of 2021 and will be summarized at our next board meeting. The chart on page 80 shows our progress on security enhancements. The higher priority items have been completed and progress is being made on all items still. Our scheduled 2021 projects are on page 81, demonstrating this year's business modernization timeline, with the remaining two being the online renewal single qualifier and testing administration transition to a third-party vendor. This concludes the information technology update. I'm available if the board has any questions.
Great. Jason, Susan, thank you for that update. Are there any board comments? Oh, and by the way, the enhancements to the website should make it a little bit easier to navigate through there. So, thanks. Shelley, any public comment?
I believe Member Kobos has a comment for Jason.
Good morning. Thank you. I just want to say, I know Jason mentioned that he's been busy the last year or so, but I think I've been keeping him busy the last quarter, and I just want to say thanks. With the many challenges I have in life, one of them is the IT department. So I just want to say thanks to Jason for helping me out and getting me squared away when I do have IT problems. So, Jason, thank you.
You're welcome.
And with that, I'm not seeing any other requests for comment.
Okay. Again, that was informational. No action required from the board. We are now on the enforcement section of our agenda. I turn it over to Enforcement Committee Chair Kevin Albanese.
Thank you very much, Chair De La Torre. This is the enforcement overview, which starts on page 87 of your packet. In the absence of recently retired Enforcement Chief Missy Vickery, I will take the lead on highlighting the enforcement agenda items. Supervising Investigator 2 Peace Officer, Jesse Flores, is available to answer any technical questions. The recruitment bulletin to fill the vacant enforcement chief position was released on Tuesday. The Enforcement Division provides public protection by enforcing contractor license law requirements. It provides methods for receiving and processing consumer complaints, investigating contractors, and providing avenues to pursue financial redress for consumers harmed by contractors. The CSLB opens up around 20,000 complaints year after year. And although 2020 saw a 17% decrease in complaints, even though 2020 saw a decrease in complaints, every year around 20% of the complaints are proactive or filed against unlicensed contractors. The CSLB Enforcement Division staff constitutes more than half of the full board staff. The division is organized into 5 areas: intake and mediation centers, investigation centers and special investigations units, statewide investigative fraud team, which is SWIFT, disciplinary enforcement services, and the quality assurance unit. There are 9 objectives in the 2019-2021 strategic plan, beginning on page 89. Status has been provided for each objective, confirming that 3 of the objectives are complete, while 6 of them are ongoing. I will take this opportunity to highlight just 2 objectives. Objective 2.4 is ongoing and is specific to the effort to identify workers' compensation violations and unlicensed contracting through social media activities and advertisements. While I'm optimistic the board-sponsored legislation will be successful to mandate workers' compensation insurance for all licensees, I thank staff for the continued focus on protecting consumers from unlicensed and uninsured practice. Objective 2.6 has a target date of December 2021 for the creation of an online licensee education in collaboration with the Public Affairs and Licensing Division. To date, they have developed a building permit compliance video and are currently working on an educational tool for the home improvement salesperson, registration, and home improvement contract requirements. Consumer and industry benefit greatly by CSLB's efforts to educate licensees on permit and contracting requirements. This brings us to the enforcement program update, which starts on page 95 with the vacancy update and summary of the implementation of expense reduction strategies. As of November 1st, 2020, 26 enforcement positions were vacant. In addition, 15 enforcement staff are currently redirected to assist counties with COVID-19 contract tracing. Ordinarily, staff would not delay in filling vacancies. However, the effort to do so is in part of the board's approved expense reduction plan. On page 95, you will see a status update of the expense reduction strategies based on billings between July 1st, 2020 and January 31st, 2021. Attorney General expenses are currently averaging $540,000 per month, which is below the $580,000 goal. Arbitration billings are currently averaging $48,000 a month, with the goal being $45,000 per month. And the goal to keep industry expert expenses at less than $50,000 a month is being met, as they are averaging only 15. Enforcement staff have worked hard to implement the expense reduction strategies and for the most part have been successful. In addition, enforcement staff have implemented several strategies to improve legal action effectiveness and reduce costs, including increasing the utilization of letters of admonishment and informal office conferences with licensees for less serious and standalone offenses that do not include a financial injury. This is instead of incurring the cost of AG representation for a formal citation and possible appeal hearing before an administrative law judge. You can see the improvements of this in this area on page 95 and 96 in the packet. Further, as part of the expense reduction plan, staff began implementing a board-approved alternative dispute resolution plan for less egregious consumer complaints in June of 2020. This involved referral of these less egregious complaints to small claims and surety bond rather than the traditional CSLB mediation attempts. However, given the decrease in overall complaints received in 2020, the unpopularity of the program, and CSLB's success with expense reduction in other areas, staff suspended this program last month. This means that CSLB is back to business as usual, attempting to mediate those less egregious consumer complaints. Investigation highlights begin on page 97 with 2 examples of successful mediations that led to satisfied consumers and contractors. Staff mediation resulted in more than $21 million of restitution to financially injured parties last calendar year. An example of revocation resulting from investigation of 3 consumer complaints can be found at the bottom of the page. In another case, on page 98, CSLB was instrumental in assisting the Los Angeles City Attorney's Office in an unfair business practice case. The complex investigation involved a contractor associating with an unlicensed contractor to obtain solar contracts under the name of Echo Solar Home Improvement. CSLB staff investigated 16 consumer complaints, many of which included allegations of false email accounts established by Echo Solar to obtain the property assessed clean energy financing, otherwise known as the PACE loan. These PACE loans were secured by liens on the consumer's property. The investigations established that many of the PACE loans were obtained without the property owner's knowledge or approval. Numerous projects were not completed, and the CSLB investigation was diverted for use other than contracted work. A consumer restitution settlement of $150,000 was obtained with now revoked licensee Max Hernandez. Further, a summary judgment requesting $3 million in restitution is pending against 3 of the unlicensed principals. The LA City Attorney has obtained a temporary restraining order, injunction, and perhaps most importantly, a financial asset freeze in response to the requested restitution order. I thank the CSLB staff and leadership for their efforts in assisting the LA Attorney. On page 99 of your packet, you will find enforcement statistical overview covering the period of January 2020 through January of 2021. As stated previously, CSLB saw a decrease in complaints in 2020. The 16,660 investigations initiated by CSLB were down more than 3,400 from 2019, and the 949 average complaints received per month were down about 17% prior year. The packet notes that complaint negotiation efforts for non-egregious consumer complaints resulted in more than $25 million in restitution to financially injured parties. And of the 1,629 legal action investigations, 30% were referred for criminal prosecution. Case management activities from January 2020 through January 2021 are listed on page 100 of your packet relating to arbitration, citations, civil penalties collected, and accusations. From January 1st, 2020 to January 31st of 2021, SWIFT conducted 16 sting operations, participated in 63 sweep days, and responded to 740 leads. SWIFT closed 3,201 cases because of undercover stings, sweeps, and leads, 784 of which resulted in administrative or criminal legal action, as well as the issuance of 1,431 advisory notices for minor violations. Page 101 of your packet contains more information on SWIFT activities relating to district attorney referrals, administrative actions, stop orders, and outstanding tax and state agency liability suspensions, including a table that summarizes those liabilities that were collected on page 102. The Labor Enforcement Task Force contained on page 102 is the same as previously reported in December 2020 because these inspections were suspended in March 2020 due to COVID. This is an informational item. There is no action required of the board, but if there are any board comments, we would take them now on enforcement. Are there any, Chair De La Torre?
No. No, I was going to ask if there was any board comments. However, I do want to thank you for that update, and I do want to thank the enforcement department for the work that they do in behalf of the consumers of California. So,
absolutely, Shelley. Is there any public comment?
None in the chat. None in the QA, and I do not see any hand raises. I think we're clear.
Fantastic.